Okay, welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to show you, literally I've spent a few hours putting this together, but it's going to show you everything that you need to know to lose weight the right way. Make it simple, keep it off without having to sacrifice silly things like bread, like social events, like, I don't know, stop eating carbohydrates after 6 p.m. when that might not be possible all of the time. This is going to show you everything. I think this is going to be so useful for a lot of you, because what I'm going to go into specifically here, I have it in front of me, is how to prevent overwhelm, so that you know how sometimes when you start something new and things are going well, but you get overwhelmed very quickly and something comes up and it's very easy to justify just kind of throwing it in the bin because there's too much going on and you're just trying to get rid of the stress. I'm going to show you exactly how you prevent that using the same methods that we use with our clients, so that that doesn't happen to you and you can let your progress compound over time. I'm also going to show you how to set your nutrition goals correctly, so that you're working off goals that are actually going to lead you to make visible progress each month, and you're not questioning in the back of your head, is this protein target even right for me? Am I eating too much calories? Am I eating too little? I'm going to show you exactly what to do. I'm also going to show you how to figure out how much exercise you should do, whether it's 3 days a week, 4 days, how you determine this, the pros and cons of doing more versus less, so you can decide how much is the best, or what number of days a week or what time per session is the best for you. I'm also going to show you how to measure progress right, so that you don't get frustrated too early on from, let's say, the scale. Like probably the most common problem here is when people start using the scales, they use it wrong, they get frustrated very easily. Progress could be happening, but because the scales isn't showing what they want, they give up and throw in the towel. And even if they don't give up, the process is just shit crack. So I'm going to show you how to avoid that by using measurements the right way, the way that we typically do it with our clients in the self-esteem U-turn. I'm also going to show you, there's quite a bit in this video, so buckle up, make yourself a cup of tea and get out a pen and paper. I'm also going to show you how you can actually build a routine, which is essentially a machine or a system that allows you to repeat the behaviors that are causing fat loss. If you don't have this in place, it's very difficult to actually build any sort of long-term momentum with your goals, and you might just cap out at maybe losing 5 kilos. But I'm assuming a lot of you watching this want to lose maybe 10 kilos, 15 kilos, which is 20 pounds, 25, 30 pounds plus. And so that's what I'm focusing on here, not just the people that want to lose like the tiniest bit of body fat before a holiday. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to adjust your routine, so that when you have things like busier work weeks, car runs, projects due for work, things like that, I'm going to show you how you can adjust your routine, so that you don't have to just say, oh fuck it, I'll wait till this phase of my life is over before I focus on my health and fitness again. I'm essentially going to show you how you can realistically maintain things year round by using what we call the safety net system in the self-esteem U-turn. So again, as I said, buckle the fuck up. This is going to be a good one. Okay, so I'm going to switch my camera here into the laptop camera, so I can go into this in more detail. And I apologize if you can hear the fan. I'm hoping you can still see the screen here. So this is what I just ran through here, what this will teach you: using prioritization to prevent overwhelm, how to set nutrition goals correctly, how to figure out how much exercise you need to do, how to measure progress, how to build your new routine, how to adjust your routine then when you have less time and more stress. So what to do in that situation. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in slightly here so you can see this in a bit more detail. And if you want this document, by the way, to read through it yourself, or you can read through it while you're watching the video, there should be a link in the description of this YouTube video so you can access that. If you are already a client or paying self-esteem U-turn member, you will have accessed this already. I will have posted it in the group. Just search in the school group weight loss cheat sheet and it'll come up for you. Okay, so what to prioritize. Most people begin their fat loss journey by trying to eat healthier and adding in more activity. This is reasonable, because if you successfully do this, you will genuinely lose weight if it's successful. Okay, the issue is that most of you won't successfully do this. You'll maybe change your eating habits, you'll move more, but it won't be successful in that nothing really changes for you. You look the same, you feel the same. And why is this? It's too fucking vague, you know? So eating healthier, moving more could include literally hundreds of behaviors that you could change. So you have two people that eat healthy, that move more, they might have changed different behaviors and made different decisions. Okay, so it's not specific enough. All of which are not equal, right? Whether or not you're deficient in iron is pretty important for health, right? But of minimal importance to losing visible body fat. Okay, drinking more water could help weight loss, but it won't help you near as much as improving your calorie awareness, okay, which is what you actually need to do. So there's nothing worse than giving something your full effort but seeing no return on your work. Well, this is what happens when people don't know what to prioritize and they're winging it, right? So that's why I've made this little pyramid here of hierarchy. I'm not sure how you pronounce that word. I keep looking at the wrong camera as well. I apologize for that. That's why I've made this pyramid here. You know what? I'm going to switch the camera to make this easier on myself. I think I have the little clicky thing here. Right, so to go through this pyramid here, basically, you have calories at the bottom of the pyramid. So the bottom is like your base, your foundation. It's the stuff that's the most important, okay? You have activity above it, protein and food quality, and it's kind of underpinned then by routine, sleep, and mental health, which I'll get into in a second. So basically, all the behaviors that you could change aren't equal, and you could change maybe 50 plus behaviors but not see any progress if you're not taking care of the big hitters. The biggest hitter is going to be your calorie intake, meaning if you're consuming more calories than you burn off, you will gain weight. Doesn't matter how healthy your diet is, weight gain will just happen due to physics. Those calories will have to go somewhere, and so they get stored as fat. And sure, maybe you have some space to store carbohydrates in your muscle as glycogen, but eventually if you keep overeating, you will store more calories as fat. So you need to be consuming consistently less calories than you burn off for fat loss to even happen in the first place, or weight loss for that matter, okay? It just needs to happen. Nothing else matters unless you can do that. So that's why this always needs to be the priority. Whatever you do that consistently allows you to do this, you kind of have your bases covered when it comes to like your baseline progress. Now, maybe it doesn't mean the best quality of progress, but you're better off making progress, and maybe the quality of it's not so good, than making no progress but constantly feeling frustrated that you're putting all this time and effort into nutrition to quality foods but nothing's happening. Okay, so the next thing after this then is activity, and calories is like calories consumed, activity is calories burned. You might be wondering why I put activity after calories consumed. You know, if they're both calories, they're just opposite sides of the equation, and that's because our ability to influence and track calories consumed is way higher than our ability to influence and track calories burnt. Okay, so we have more influence over what we put in our mouth, and it's easier to, well, I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to eat a donut, average donut, maybe 300 calories, right? But let's say, you want to track that and consume it. It might take you a total of 3 minutes to eat the donut and track the calories. Very, very minimal, not lots of effort. But let's say you want to track the calories burned let's say you want to burn 300 calories and track that. It might require you to go on a 40-minute run, maybe longer for some people. If you're really going hell for leather, maybe 20 minutes, and you want to track the calories burned, it's like you can track them on your fitness watch, but the accuracy is known to be off by up to 50%. So it's a lot harder to manipulate and influence the calories burned and use that as a consistent method to help with weight loss if that's what your priority is. So generally, the people that focus on the calories consumed rather than the calories burned will always get better, more predictable results than the people that just try to out-exercise their bad diet. In an ideal scenario, you do want to do both, however, which is why activity is still in this table. It still counts. You still burn calories by moving. So it includes exercise and steps, which I'll get into. Then above that, you have protein, which doesn't really affect weight loss at all. You can lose weight by having 10 grams of protein a day. You can lose weight by having, 200 grams plus, right? Which I consider quite a high intake. However, what it does affect is the quality of your progress. And this is why it's important. Fat loss specifically. So if you're someone that doesn't eat a lot of protein and you're losing, let's say, 2 kilos a month, you're not supporting enough muscle maintenance and growth, and in that scenario some of the weight that you will lose will come from muscle. I won't go too into the technicalities of it in this video. I'll do that for a separate video, but some of the weight that you'll lose is muscle, and that's all good and well, but really what you want to lose, I'm assuming, is your body fat, so you can get leaner and have that like more toned look that people talk about. That's the ideal scenario. It's healthier and it's easier to sustain, right? So the protein comes into play then when you want to try and maintain and build as much muscle as possible while simultaneously losing fat as weight, and so you get a better quality of result if your protein intake is right, which don't worry, I will cover that in this video, how to do that. Then on top of that, you have food quality. And this is a weird one because food quality when it comes to weight loss is really just making sure you're not deficient in anything. You're getting in enough fiber. You're not having like ridiculous sugar crashes throughout the day because you're having jelly tots for for breakfast, which some cereals are pretty much the equivalent. And so that's where food quality comes into it. And it serves to make sure that your body is operating as it should. You're not getting sick. You're not getting big energy crashes, and you're staying full. Okay. The small nuance here is that while none of that directly helps with weight loss, it's actually very hard to stick to your diet if you're trying to aim for a calorie deficit, consuming less calories than you burn off, if you don't have a good quality diet, which means that you can create a calorie deficit from eating whatever you want, but you just might not stick to it for that long if you're having energy crashes, higher hunger, you're not keeping very full from your diet. So just keep that in mind. That's also important, but just it shouldn't be your main focus. All right. And then obviously this is underpinned by routine, sleep, and mental health, meaning making any of these changes is generally going to be impossible to stick to if you don't have some form of routine, which is, I'll go into that in a second. It's a system for repeating the behaviors. If your sleep isn't good enough, you're just going to be consistently making poor decisions. It's like you can get away with it, but with all the other curveballs life will throw at you, it's going to be very difficult to make the progress you want without sufficient sleep. And then mental health. Again, mental health is the thing that can affect the decisions you make, the behaviors, how you think, how easy it is for you to sustain these behaviors. So that's why I have it down there. You can lose weight without having good mental health. It's just hard to repeatedly convince yourself to do the behaviors that are in line with weight loss. That's what I'm talking about here specifically. This isn't going to be a video about mental health. I'm not a mental health expert. Look elsewhere, go to a therapist if that's something you need help with. It's just when it comes to health, fitness, weight loss, it is something that definitely does need to be considered for that reason that I mentioned, in the same way sleep needs to be considered. Okay. So that's your hierarchy of importance. And the idea behind this is that you only ever focus on one thing at a time. Okay. So let's say, for example, your diet, your lifestyle is absolute fucking chaos. It's burning, it's in shatters, and you can only do one thing, otherwise you get overwhelmed. So this is how you reduce overwhelm. You only focus on the thing at the bottom of the pyramid and then move your way up. So if you're focusing on nothing, you focus on calories and calories only, and you don't worry about anything else ever until you have the calorie box ticked. Okay. Now let's say that you kind of have a routine going and you're able to put yourself in a calorie deficit. It's like, right, what do you focus on then? Or maybe you're so busy, you have other responsibilities, and so you focus on your activity. You don't start worrying about your food quality then after you've gotten calories on point. You start making sure, right, am I being an active person? And maybe you are already. Maybe you have an active job, you're getting an exercise, in which case you move up the next tier in that pyramid to the next thing. But if not, then instead of putting all your effort into food quality and protein, you put that into making sure you have like an activity routine. So walking routine, exercise routine, that sort of stuff. Okay, because it's going to have the biggest influence on your results and your health. The next thing then is protein. So if your calories and your activity is sorted and you need something else to focus on that will positively impact your results, your protein. And this also ties into food quality, because protein is a nutrient that we need. You have a better quality of diet if you're getting more protein in it. So it's technically tied into it. It's just kind of pulling one of the more important elements out of food quality. And then you keep food quality last. So it's absolutely still important. Everyone should probably consider it at some point. But if you've never grasped calories, activity, protein, if you've always just been fucking them up, stop focusing on food quality and start focusing on the things that are going to have a bigger difference. Once you get them started, go back to focusing on food quality. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically, with that system, you only ever need to focus on one thing at a time, because it shows you clearly what the most important things are. So you're not trying to put equal energy and attention on everything, because that is absolutely the wrong way to do it and will lead to you getting an inefficient return on the effort that you're putting in to lose weight, which unfortunately is what's happening to a lot of people in this day and age, as they're just bombarded with information online and trying to change 100 behaviors at once. Okay. So this section is a bit shorter. It's a bit more straight to the point, a bit more logical, and it's how to set nutrition goals correctly. A lot of people don't know how to do this. It's actually one of the easiest things to do. So I'm going to show you how to do it in this video. For calories, use a TDE calculator. I've linked it here. I won't go into it in this video. Again, you can download the sheet in the description. It's just tdeecalculator.net. It uses a formula to determine the average calories that you as a human might burn a day. It gives you an estimate, mind you. It's not going to be the exact figure. We'll burn a different amount of calories every day, and it's using a formula where the human body, one formula is probably not going to be enough to give it like a properly accurate number, like to the decimal of how many calories we burn. It's better than guessing. Guessing is here. Using a formula will bring you way up here in terms of accuracy. So you can base your activity levels in that formula, because it will ask you, like, put in your activity levels off a combination of how active your job is, your steps, and the amount of exercise you do. Meaning, if all of them are up, your activity levels should be up there close to an athlete. But if maybe you're training really hard in the gym, but you have a very inactive job, your steps are very low, and you only train 2 to 3 days a week, your activity is actually going to be pretty low then, that's where I'm sitting at the moment. Ignore the body fat percentage field. We can't really do it that accurately unless you got a DEXA scan. And then what you want to do is the number it gives you is like your maintenance calories, the amount of calories you'll burn on average a day. Subtract 200 to 500 from this number to create your calorie deficit, and set this as your goal for consumption a day. So going back up to that pyramid, number one thing is calories. If you haven't done that yet, that's your priority. Then protein. Ideally, you want to be able to consume anywhere between 1.5 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight per day. If you don't have much body fat and resistance train often, go to the higher end. Okay, you will have higher protein requirements. Your body will be more likely to want to try and break down your muscle. If you have lots of body fat, like if you're obese, for example, and you don't do much resistance training, you can get away with going to the lower end and still getting really, really good results. In fact, I would argue if you're really obese, you can get away with even a lot lower than that, maybe 1.2 grams per kilo of body weight, just because a lot of the weight of your body is not made up from body mass that requires protein. If a lot of your body weight is fat, we don't need the protein's for your muscle. It's not for your fat, right? So that's how that estimate works. It's a gram amount per kilo of body weight, and so if a lot of your kilos are from fat, that measurement, that prescription doesn't really plan out that well. So that's just a small exception for people that have lots and lots of body fat. You might not want to do that because you'll just end up with ridiculously unrealistic protein targets. Okay. And for other nutrition goals, look, honestly, I used to do it, but don't worry about setting goals for carbs, fats, or anything else for now. Keep that maybe on like food quality, or even less than food quality, a step above that, carb and fat goals. They make such small differences that it's not worth it for 99% of people, unless you're an athlete wanting to perform on a certain day. So long as you pay attention to calories and protein, you can still get amazing results and improve your health. So it just unnecessarily complicates it for a lot of people. Okay. We have videos on carbs and fats so people can learn about them in our self-esteem U-turn group. You can join that if you like for €25 a month. But even in those videos, I tell people it's really not the priority. What you should be focusing on is your calorie intake and protein intake. Okay? I'm going to pause this for a sec and get a drink of water before I die. Okay, the next one here is how much exercise do you need to do? Most people think you need to do silly amounts of exercise to get amazing results, especially with losing body fat. But this just isn't fucking true. You've probably heard the saying you can't out-exercise a bad diet. It's technically you can if you go to the extreme ends, but it's just not very efficient. Our client, for example, Chloe, lost over 20 kilos, and actually came to about 21, 22 kilos, which is 44 pounds in 1 year with less than 7k steps average a day. Okay, and 2 to 3 home workouts a week. They're approximately 20 minutes to 30 minutes long. She had some medical conditions, the reason we had to just do the home workouts, and the steps were that low. Otherwise, she could have pushed above and beyond. But it's she's proven a point here. Okay, this is only possible when you prioritize the right things. However, going back to that pyramid of prioritization, I don't know what I'll call it. Her number one priority was the calories that she consumed. Okay. If she instead overly worried about water intake and carb intake, these results wouldn't have happened. So the vast majority of her mental energy and effort was going to the food that she was putting into her mouth and making sure she had an accurate awareness of the calories in those foods. That's where the vast majority of the effort was going. This just shows you how results like this are possible without the extremes of exercise side of things. Now, those are a picture of her results there. Now, that being kept in mind, goes without saying, exercise is still a huge factor when it comes to improving the quality of your results, how you look at the end. And whilst it's possible to achieve results like Chloe's with minimal exercise, I don't recommend it to anyone that wants to get the best results. Okay? Again, the reason we did that for Chloe is there was some medical conditions that held her back. If that's not the case for you and you can do exercise, you're just lacking clarity, you don't know what to do, and maybe you lack confidence, then definitely start doing exercise. But luckily I'm going to help you a bit with this in this video, but also again in our self-esteem U-turn group, we actually have a course in there called the Resistance Training Instruction Manual that anyone can do. I think it unlocks after you get like 3 or 4 points in the group. It's like very, very minimal, and it shows you step by step how to get into resistance training, as well as you'll have some examples for exactly what you can do if you're working out at home or what you can do working in the gym, with tutorials included. So like full workout plans basically. So this will just show you basically how to decide how many days you should train. So for resistance training, like you can do maybe at a minimum 2 sessions a week for 20 minutes. I'm not going to go through all these in this video, by the way, because you can download this sheet in the description below and read through it. I'm just going to show you how to read it, basically. I'll show you the minimum and the max. 2 sessions a week, 20 minutes minimum. So for example, like beginners may notice a small change in the body composition doing this. And after this, you can expect higher levels of energy and confidence, like with even a small amount, which is great. Not really fat loss though, and an easier time maintaining results. So you're probably not going to get to where you want to get to from just doing 2 sessions a week at 20 minutes minimum. But the point that I'm getting at here is that it's also not a waste of time and significantly better than doing nothing. Okay, on the higher end, you could do 4 to 5 sessions a week at 60 to 90 minutes in length. More than this isn't really required and will provide marginal improvements in results for most people. I recommend this for people that have more time and want the best possible results for themselves, reaching what I like to call their full genetic potential in terms of how much of a change they can make to their body composition and become an absolute fucking beast. So if you can do that, I highly recommend working up to that point. All right. You can read through the rest if you download this. For cardio, then nowhere near as important as resistance training. For some people, I even recommend like a 2-to-1 ratio. So 1 cardio session per 2 resistance training sessions to make sure that they reinforce that importance of resistance training. And so you can do 1 session a week. You can do none as well if you like. Like Chloe had no set cardio sessions. It was just step goals. But 1 session a week at 10 to 20 minutes is still better than nothing. Okay. You won't improve results significantly with this, but it will make you feel better and you'll have a slightly better cardiovascular health, meaning your heart health will improve. You'll have less of a chance later on in your life of your body deciding to kill you through cardiovascular disease, which is nice. And it can also be useful for maintenance because you burn just slightly more calories than usual. Maybe an extra donut or a Kit Kat, maybe not even. So you'll also kind of maybe feel more energy, you'll be happier with your habits, but in terms of the change that this will elicit, it's not much. It's still better than nothing though. Okay. On higher end, you can do 3 sessions a week, 30 minutes plus, and at this point it will start to benefit fat loss a bit more because you burn a lot more calories. It might make it easier to diet for some people as well. However, for other people, it actually just increases their hunger and kind of sabotages them in a way, although it's usually the opposite. And you'll typically see quite fast improvements in cardiovascular fitness at that point, which means if you're trying to like improve your time in a 5K, you'll see that happen a bit faster if you're doing it 3 times a week. But you might still not see the change in body composition you want if you're just doing this. So if you had to choose between 3 sessions a week at 30 minutes doing cardio or 3 resistance training sessions, do 3 resistance training sessions. You will see better results from that. Okay. Obviously, if it's a choice between doing the cardio or nothing, choose the cardio. Okay. Then for the steps, which is the other element of your activity that you want to consider, 3 to 5K steps really at a minimum is what you should be looking for. So you should definitely be slightly worried if your average steps are below 3 to 5K. And I don't care if that sounds like I'm guilt tripping you. It's just your life is going to be made very difficult and very painful if that's your long-term average, if it's below 3 to 5K steps. So I really recommend doing something about your life to get it above that. And if there's nothing you can do, there's some hard decisions that probably need to be made there. Okay. An average of 3 to 5K steps a day likely won't be enough for most people to sustainably lose any reasonable amount of weight. However, it is perfectly normal and okay to go through periods of time where this is your average. There's winter in Ireland, for example. And provided calories are still under control, it won't impact results that much. Okay. Now, on the higher end here, we have like 10.5k plus step goals, up to 15k steps. Some people with very busy jobs can set higher step goals than this, or if you have unlimited time. If you previously had a pretty low step count, let's say less than 3k per day, and you go up to this, that could be enough by itself for you to start losing some weight without any major diet changes. So this would have a bigger effect than the cardio, in my opinion. Not in your cardiovascular health, but on like your weight loss and fat loss goals. Okay. Also from what I've seen, again, Chloe's example. So some weight without any major diet changes. Maintaining this level of step count, if you have the time and means, would help massively. So it's probably not going to be sustainable for most people. But again, it's that sort of argument. If you can do it, it's probably worth doing it. It's literally walking. It's one of the easiest things that you can do. And it's going to help something that will make you feel a lot more confident in yourself, make you feel a lot more proud of the body that you're in. Okay. So the next thing I want to get into then is measuring progress. It's going to be quite a long one, so you might want to go and make yourself another cup of tea and then come back. So you can literally get everything right when it comes to fat loss, but if you can't properly measure whether or not the methods you're using are actually effective, you're done for. So many people don't do this. They don't measure progress. Imagine getting everything right only to give up before you see the real results. If you didn't stop, imagine where you would be. Or doing everything wrong, effectively wasting your time, but not finding out your approach isn't working until you realize you look exactly the same in the mirror 3 months from that point, because you haven't measured progress. Don't be those people. Just don't. You can easily avoid it. Okay. So here are the 3 methods we use with our clients. Again, we have full breakdowns of these methods in our self-esteem U-turn group for the people that work to us like one-to-one for like a custom plan, but also the people just wanting to learn and be involved in a community. Okay, I have the links at the bottom of this. You can join that if you like, or you can just read through and implement from this video. So we have the weighing scales, which is kind of like medium term, usually like 30 days-ish, to determine whether or not it's working for progress. It's semi-accurate, meaning it measures weight. Water is weight, muscle is weight, the food you consume is weight. I just had a fried egg out there, that's weight. And so that's what I mean when I say it's semi-accurate. Calorie deficit will lose fat over time, will lose weight as well, but there's things that can influence our weight in the short term. I won't go into it too much in this video, but what I recommend is take daily weigh-ins each morning and interpret the averages every month for women and every 3 weeks for men. And this is just because of the difference in hormones. Okay. For CM tape, it's short to medium term. So you can sometimes see the changes a bit quicker, especially if it's at the start of your weight loss journey. It's also semi-accurate because sometimes, for example, well, I would say it's semi-accurate if you're just doing the waist measurements, but if you're measuring around your arm or your leg, it's usually pretty accurate because we don't store gas there and we don't typically bloat. In our waist area, we do. And so it's probably a bit more accurate than the scale if you're using it right. And so what I recommend doing is taking waist, arm, and leg circumference measurements and then recording these weekly in a diary. Okay. We don't really need averages here. They tend to be a bit more predictable. They don't really fluctuate like the scale does, so the need for doing them daily isn't as important. For progress pictures, these are definitely more long-term. A lot of people, at least that work with us, won't start seeing like visible, noticeable changes until 2 months plus. And if you do start seeing them 1 month in, you're kind of lucky. It does happen to a lot of people, but you're definitely on the luckier end. These are the most accurate. Obviously, this is what you want. You want to look different. You want someone else looking back at you in the mirror that represents the new self that you want to be. Take weekly or monthly under the same lighting. That's very, very important. With the same clothes, posing, and camera angle. Okay, keep as many things as consistent as possible, or it's basically just a selfie, right? It's not a selfie you want to take care. You want to be able to use this for looking at changes over time, and the only way you can do that is if the pictures are as similar as possible. Okay, so that's a huge point. Now, the next thing you want to start considering after this point is how to build your routine. Your routine is your machine or system you build that makes it easy to repeat certain behaviors. Okay, without one, it's very reasonable or likely that you'll overeat, you'll miss workouts, and get in piss poor steps. All it takes is a little sprinkle of stress and unpredictability, and all of a sudden your habits fall to shit. right? So you need a system whereby you can repeat these behaviors. Of course, having the right stuff in your routine, like I mentioned above, again, the pyramid, that's why I put it at the beginning. It's the right stuff, prioritizing the right things, calories, activity, etc. But without routine, it's fucking tough to do the right stuff often, so you stay stuck, miserable, and unhappy. So keep that in mind. It's really, really important. Below is a system I've used in my own personal life to make sure that I tick the boxes. Warning, I'm not perfect though, and sometimes I haven't followed my own routine the way I wanted due to something unpredictable happening. I'm sure many of you can relate to that, but that's what the last section of this is for. So make sure you stay till the end to watch through that. I'm going to show you how to adjust your routine to make it flexible so that this doesn't throw you off and stops your progress from compounding. Because that's where a lot of people fall short. They know they need to build a routine, they put it in place, something happens, and they're like, oh, routine doesn't work for me anymore, my life is too shit. And they stop and they start again a year after. So we want to avoid that. Don't worry, I will show you how. Okay, so to build it, first of all, open up a calendar. My personal favorite is Google Calendar. I sync it between my laptop and my phone so that I get reminders and stay up to date with what I need to do no matter where I am. If you don't use some form of calendar, basically what that's saying is you're okay with leaving your health and fitness to pure chance. So use one, right? Maybe with the exception of if you have a to-do list on your fridge or something like that for your routine. You need to use some form of system. Don't just store it up in your head. I don't care if you have like good cognitive health or a good memory. This needs to be as important as your work life. Okay, if you want to make this change, if you're serious about it. It doesn't need to take as much time as your work life, but you need to be able to prioritize it. Okay, and put systems in place that will help you get there. So block in the repeated tasks first. So I've shown an example here. Block in the stuff that doesn't change week on week. Set these events to repeat in the calendar and color code them if you like. So just put in work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then like a template weekly meeting in there. Okay. The next thing you want to do is block in available time for exercise and nutrition. This isn't something you need to continue doing. It's kind of a bit more of a test, but it helps you see where your time is, and it can be useful when first building your routine to test what works. Right. So include your gym sessions, meal prep if you're doing it, and your groceries. If you can, though, I'd recommend ordering your groceries, as I mentioned there in brackets. So obviously there's like a ridiculous amount of workouts in here, but from this calendar, these are all the times I could realistically get workouts in. So now I know, okay, what's possible for me. And what I'll do then is adjust it weekly. Most people set a calendar once and forget about it, but this doesn't work as you'll probably get it wrong the first time, ignore it, and then go back to your old ways of having zero routine. I have done this countless times before until I started using a system like this, where I actually went in and adjusted my calendar every week. So the way you need to think of this is you need to tend to your calendar like it's your garden, right? It basically is anyways. It's like your time garden, okay? There'll be things that need different amounts of attention each week, and you can't just set it up once and sit back and hope that the routine will kind of take care of everything. You need to constantly be adjusting it, okay? And basically, when you get better at building a routine, you'll need to adjust it less. So at the beginning, you'll need to adjust it a bit more, and it will feel like, oh, what's the point in doing this? Like a routine is meant to make it easier, but I have to put all this work into maintaining my routine. Well, over time, when you get better at it, you might only need to spend like a few seconds adjusting something every week, and then everything else stays the same. Okay. So this task here of adjusting it or reviewing it at one point every week, I recommend Sunday. It will help massively. Okay. Right, now in this last part here, this is probably one of the most important parts, so don't skip it. People forget about this part because it's not sexy and it doesn't help with weight loss, but it makes sure that you're the type of person that doesn't regain the weight a year down the line, okay? So it's where most people go wrong. Make sure you read all of it, as it's the system that we teach our clients that will allow you to make progress without giving up their social life and actually keep the weight off. Lack of flexibility is what causes people to throw in the towel after one busy work week, and keeps people stuck in a cycle of losing weight only to regain it again, meaning it's pointless. The sad truth is that without this, some of you who regain the weight will end up even worse from where you started. So not only was it wasted time, but it actually ended up shooting yourself in the foot along with that. So it's really important that this doesn't happen to you. I genuinely want that for you. I don't want you to be one of these people that are stuck in this cycle for 10 years, your situation getting worse and worse and worse, your self-belief getting lower and lower and lower, okay? That genuinely happens to people. Might have even happened to you so far. So imagine how far along you would be with your weight loss if instead of giving up all of those times that you stuck with it. What would you look like at that point? How much progress would you have been able to make if it just compounded, right? Or even if when you gave up, you were just able to pause and maintain your progress and picked it up then again afterwards, okay? How would you actually feel at that point from the change that you would make? It goes to show that like it's possible for you, but maybe the bigger issue is keeping the weight off, right? I hope you're really getting how important this is now, by the way. The safety net system, which is what I'm going to talk about here, works like lanes on a motorway designed for different speeds. You have the fast lane, a slow lane, and some might even have like a medium lane. And you select your lane based on what your goal is, right? So let me explain. We usually split this up into a tiered system, which is tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. But you can use 2 tiers, you can use 4 tiers, similar to a motorway. Different countries, different areas will have a different amount of lanes, okay? Tier 1 is based off what you do when life is predictable and easy. You might hit your calorie goals bang on. Tier 2 is based off what you do when it's a little more unpredictable and your habits become less realistic. You might try and work within a calorie range, for example. Tier 3 is your non-negotiables. It's the slow lane. It's the shit you need to do to stay consistent and make sure you don't lose lots of progress. Nobody defines this. And that's where the issue is. People just try and be flexible in their head and go easy on themselves, but because it's not defined, they just press the big red fuck it button and end up going back to square one. And it's this yo-yo effect with their progress. So all those times you should have, where you did throw in the towel and press the fuck it button, that's when you should have been in tier 3 instead, right? So here's an example of the different tiers with different habit sets. What we do with our one-to-one clients is they have a habit tracker they fill out each day. So at the start of the day for some of them, we haven't implemented it for all of them yet, they will say, right, I'm going to go into tier 1, 2, or 3 today. So they pick their tier and then we track on average how many, like what's their most common tier that they've went into for the month, basically. So it's a handy way of us reinforcing it for them so they get to learn this and they can stick with it then after the program. So important note, right? These are some of the systems we use in our self-esteem U-turn program where we help people that hate themselves build a rock solid routine with their diet and exercise so that they can improve their body composition, fitness levels, mindset, and create levels of self-esteem that they haven't had in fucking years, okay? If you'd like to work with us one-to-one so we can help you do this too, using the systems above, if you're on board with those, click here to book a free nutrition diet assessment call. Again, the document that I'll link before this, so we can figure out a solution for you. Now, we don't work with everyone. That's one of the reasons that we have the call first. We're not going to be trying to sell you into the program if we really don't think it's for you. However, if you're relating to a lot of things on this page and you're on board with the methods and you want to make a permanent change, chances are it's definitely something that could work for you. So I would recommend booking in that call. It is free. Alternatively, if you'd like to just learn more stuff like this, if you found this useful and you maybe don't want any form of coaching or help, you can join our Self-Esteem U-Turn community for €25. It's actually a bit cheaper than that because it's like dollars a month before we increase the price in the next few weeks. We are bringing it up to, is it 35? It's either 30 or 35. I actually can't remember what I put in. So you can click that link there and have a look at them as well. I hope this video was helpful and you learned a lot from it. You don't like, if this is perfect and you're ready to start implementing, you've taken down a few notes, definitely try and implement those first, maybe before booking a call with us, see if they actually work for you. And if you have any questions as well, you can pop them in the comments below. All right.